starts today. You've got one life to live. Love yourself, be kind to others, break free and let your spirit soar. Empower life with Cleopatra will help you awaken the best version of you. Empower life with Cleopatra. Oh, 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 oh. Empower life with Cleopatra. Oh, 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 oh.
Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you can all see me and hear me. I hope you can all see me and hear me, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. I hope everybody is doing well. I have missed you guys. Honestly, I cannot even begin to tell you how much I have missed you, but we are back. And honestly, there's tonight's show. I thought I'd come with a bang. You got the video, right? That I sent. Like, I thought I'd come in with a bang tonight because this particular confession is the one that I was traumatized when I got it last year. But I hope he's going to join this year. I don't know if he knows I'm going to be talking about the confession tonight because I don't have his telephone number. Right, he sent me an email and he didn't put his number and I didn't want to contact him or whatever, because obviously if he wanted me to have his telephone number he would have put his telephone number. So I didn't even send him an email that I'm going to do the confession tonight. But listen, I will send him an email later because I thought it was a good time to actually do the confession tonight. So welcome. Hi Riri, thank you so much for joining. Welcome to the show, everybody. If you're on the show, put something in the chat. Let me know you are here. Let me know that I've got company. Thank you. Really, how are you doing? I hope you're okay. Everybody in the show, thank you so much. There's got quite a few people joining already. So I'm just going to start because it's a long story. Literally, it's a very, very long story, and I don't want to waste time. I actually was going to, in fact, I did an audio with it, thinking that I will just put it on an audio instead. And but when I played the audio back, it seemed okay, but it didn't really capture the essence, So I thought, look, I'm just going to narrate it. So it's a long narration. So please bear with me. All right. It's a long narration. So we are going to start because I don't want to take too much of your time. Right. So once again, welcome to Empower Life with Cleopatra, the show where we just don't tell stories. We step into them. And tonight, I need you, my royals, to listen very carefully, not just with your ears, but with your conscience, because this is not a story that you can judge quickly. It's one of those stories that sits with you long after it ends. Listen, a man is pulled out of prison at his lowest point, when nobody wants him, when nobody believes in him, even when he doesn't even believe in himself. One man, a pastor, steps in. He feeds him, he houses him, he calls him son. He builds him back up to become a human being again, gives him dignity, gives him purpose, gives him a second chance in life. And then that same man sleeps with the pastor's wife. Not once, not by accident, but repeatedly. And in the same place where these prayers are being said in church, this is where most of this stuff is happening. Most of these atrocities that he's committing with the pastor's wife are happening, right? This is this place where hands are lifted up, where, trust is sacred, and just when you think that the story cannot go any darker, a child is born and then the pastor dies. All right. But before this truth comes out, this man has died, and maybe it was meant to be so. I don't know. But tonight, I want you to sit with this question, because I'm going to ask you, how far can a person fall after being given everything they needed to rise, right? How far can they fall? And how do you ask God for forgiveness when you believe you destroyed the life of the man who saved you. Because that's what he feels, even though he didn't physically kill the pastor, but he feels that because of what he has done. All right, so let's hear his story. All right, let's hear his story. Hi, Maureen. Thank you for joining. Lovely to have you here. Thank you for joining everyone who's in the chats. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to read the story now. You guys bear with me. It's a long story, right? I think this guy is it should be an author because he's very good at writing. It's a very long story. So bear with me as I read his story, right? Dear Queen Cleopatra, my name is Ethan. I'd like to commend you on the great work and the wonderful content on your platform. A friend of mine, Kehinde, shared your link on our WhatsApp platform last year, and I have been an avid fan ever since. Please keep up the great work. As I stated earlier, my name is Ethan. I'd like to say that there are two versions of me. The one Pastor Monroe believed in, and the one who proved he shouldn't have believed in. I was born in the US, but I now live in Dublin, Ireland. I am 32 years old now, but the story I'm about to tell you began 8 years ago when I was 24. That year was the turning point in my life. The year everything I believed about redemption, faith, loyalty, and sin began to unravel. I had just gotten out of prison 3 years earlier. I'd been sentenced for aggravated assault after a fight erupted in a bar. I thought I was protecting a friend. Instead, I nearly killed a man. One moment of rage destroyed the life I had known. Prison life does something to a man. Some people leave harder, some leave broken. I left exposed. The anger that had always lived inside me had nowhere to hide anymore. The loneliness hit deeper than anything I'd felt before. Nights were the worst. It was inside those walls that I first reached for faith. Not because I was holy, but because I was drowning. A volunteer from a prison ministry handed me a Bible one afternoon. I joined prayer circles, I attended Bible studies, started believing, truly believing that maybe redemption was possible. Maybe even for someone like me. So when the gates opened and I walked out of that prison, I promised myself I would never go back to the man I used to be. But freedom didn't mean opportunity. No savings, no family was willing to take me in. My mother had moved to Arkansas with a new husband who didn't want an ex-convict under his roof. Right. My father had disappeared when I was 9. For weeks, I slept in shelters, eating whatever food I could find. That's when I found Grace and Mercy Pentecostal Church. Or maybe it found me. The church ran a halfway house outreach program for men coming out of prison. The man behind it all was Pastor Elijah Monroe. Pastor Monroe wasn't the kind of preacher who stood on a stage and judged people. His voice carried the weight of someone who had lived through the same darkness he was trying to save others from. He had grown up in Jackson, Mississippi, and was also involved in gangs as a teenager. He was also arrested and barely escaped prison. Everything changed when his younger brother was killed in a drive-by shooting. That moment broke him so bad, it broke something inside him. But it also rebuilt him. He found faith. He went back to school, he became a minister, and then he dedicated his life to helping people like me. When I first walked through the doors of the church, I expected suspicion. Instead, he handed me a plate of hot food. He looked straight at me and he said something I'll never forget. You are not your past, son. God is waiting on your yes. I cried that day because it was the first time in years somebody had looked at me like I was still worth something. He gave me a place to stay, A small room in the church basement, nothing fancy, but it felt like a palace compared to the shelter huts I'd been sleeping on. Soon he started giving me small jobs, fixing broken pews, painting classrooms, cleaning the church van. Slowly, he trusted me more. And then months passed. And I began to see Pastor Moreau as something I had never really had before, a father. And then I met his wife. Her name was Angelica. If you saw her standing beside him during Sunday service, you would think she was the perfect first lady in the church. Graceful, soft spoken, elegant. Her smile could calm a room. But there was something else there, too. Something hidden behind her eyes. Something restless. It was just small things. A look that lasted a little too long. A touch in my arm that lingered. A hug that felt different. I told myself I was just imagining it until the night everything changed. It was after a Wednesday Bible study. Most of the congregation had already left. I was in the copy room printing flyers for a youth event when Angelica walked in. She closed the door behind her. The room suddenly felt smaller. She looked at me quietly for a moment. Then she said softly, "You have a good heart, Ethan. I see it." Before I could respond, she kissed me. I froze. My brain screamed, this was wrong. I pulled away immediately and told her we couldn't do this, that her husband trusted me, that this was a church. Her eyes filled with something I didn't recognize then, but now I know it was desperation. He preaches about love every Sunday, she whispered, but he hasn't touched me in years. She told me about how the marriage had changed, how the man the world saw was not always the man at home, how over the years conversations became shorter, touches became rarer, silence became normal. He loves God, she said, but somewhere along the way, he stopped seeing me. And in that moment, something dangerous happened. I didn't see her as someone doing something wrong. I saw her as someone hurting, and it made it easier. Too easy. One night, the church was packed. Pastor Monroe was preaching one of his powerful sermons about forgiveness. The sanctuary was alive with amens and hallelujahs. I was cleaning the hallway when Angelica grabbed my hand and pulled me towards the pastor's office. Before I could protest, she locked the door. The same office where he counseled people, where Bibles lined the shelves, where a framed quote on the wall read, "Lead with love." My heart was pounding so loud I thought the ceilings could hear it. She kissed me again, harder this time, desperate, hungry. I tried to resist, but something inside me, something dark had broken. I gave in. What happened next wasn't gentle, it wasn't romance. It was two wounded people crashing into each other like a storm. The faint sound of the church organ drifted through the walls as Pastor Monroe continued preaching to the congregation, completely unaware that just feet away, his wife was betraying him with the man he had saved. I will never forget that moment. The guilt, the heat, the echo of his voice rose from the pulpit as I sank deeper into sin. That night should have been the last time, but it wasn't. One encounter became dozens. Church retreats, at choir rehearsals, at youth camps. I would lead prayer sessions, then slip away to meet her in the hidden corners of the church. The baptism room became our secret sanctuary. She would whisper things like, God wouldn't judge us if we were already broken. Eventually, she told me she loved me. She said I made her feel alive again. She said Pastor Monroe didn't deserve her. And somewhere along the way, I started believing it. After a while, we stopped pretending it was temporary. We stopped saying, this can't happen again. because it already had again and again and again. Instead, we started saying things like, oh, no one needs to know. This doesn't change anything. We're still good people. And the more we said it, the more believable it became. I mean, that's how it works, isn't it? You don't wake up one day and decide to destroy everything. You convince yourself that what you're doing isn't destruction. Then one day, she said three words that shattered everything. I am pregnant. My mind went blank. The room felt like it was spinning. You what? I whispered. Pregnant, Ethan. It's yours. Panic hit me like a tidal waves. I begged her to get an abortion, pleaded with her, but she refused. This baby is a blessing, she said. Proof that we're meant to be. I collapsed onto the floor crying. Not even my sentencing day had broken me like that moment. I felt trapped, like redemption had slipped through my fingers forever. Then something happened that changed everything. Before Angelica could tell her husband, Pastor Monroe collapsed during the sermon. Heart attack, dead before he hit the floor. I was standing in the congregation when it happened, watching the man who saved my life die in front of me. At his funeral, Angelica wore white. After everyone had left the church, she leaned close and whispered to me, we are free now. But I wasn't. The guilt consumed me. I started seeing Monroe in my dreams, hearing his sermons in my sleep, seeing his face in mirrors. Eventually, I ran. I left the state, changed my name, blocked Angelica, tried to start a new life. And that's why I moved to Ireland. For years, I thought I'd escaped. Then one day, a message appeared on my phone, a photo, a little boy with my eyes. Her message said only one thing. He asks about his father. And just like that, everything I had buried came back. Now I can't sleep. I can't pray. Sometimes I swear I hear Pastor Monroe's voice preaching somewhere behind me. I don't know how to ask God for forgiveness. I don't know if I even deserve it. So now I live with this question every day. Not what did I do? Because I know that. I know what I did. But the questions I live with are, what do I do now? Do I step into that child's life and risk destroying everything he believes? Do I stay away and let him grow up without knowing the truth? Do I confess, even though the man I betrayed is no longer here to hear it? Or do I keep running until there is nothing left for me to face? I am keen to hear what you and your royals say. Because I feel like I'm losing my mind. I need all the advice I can get. Thank you and best wishes, Ethan. My royals, do you have any words? Because I know I don't have any words. I don't know what to say. You know, last year I told you I received a confession that was too traumatic for me to say, but this was it. Well, there's quite a few of them actually, but this is one of them. All right. I by now I was in a very that's why let me do it now. But even when I was going through and reading it again and trying to prepare for the shocked by the level of I don't know what to call it. Is it heartlessness or whatever? I don't know what to call it. Let's pause for a moment. Let me just play the angel's advocate here because this story raises some very uncomfortable questions. Was Ethan manipulated? Was Angelica trapped in a loveless marriage? Or was this simply betrayal? Pure and simple. Was it just betrayal? All right. And I want to ask you something honestly, because I want look, I'm asking you all these questions because I want the chat to just go crazy with your comments and everything. Just go crazy with it. All right. If someone saved your life the way Pastor Monroe saved Ethan's life, would you ever betray them like this? Or do you think loneliness and emotional vulnerability can push people into things they would never normally do? Please put it in your comments because this story is far from over. And I definitely want to hear your thoughts. Hello, Mr. Solomon. Thank you for joining. Hello, Obiara Amarachi. How are you doing? Good evening to you. It's my dear Amarachi. How are you? Now, listen, this is the story, and I need your input, everybody. This guy, all right, he's confessed and everything. As you can see, my background was meant to be a courtroom so that we can judge. Because I just felt like maybe we need to just, judge him and tell him, yeah, you're guilty, you're guilty. But I want us to look at it from different angles. That's why I asked you those questions. Do you think he was manipulated? Do you think he deserves forgiveness? Do you think he should go and confess maybe to somebody? Do you think he should go and look for his son? The whole thing is just all over the place. What do you think, my royals? What do you think? Because I don't even know what to say. This guy's behavior. I mean, you're biting, literally biting the finger that fed you. All right. No matter how much. I mean, I can't even say. Sorry, I'm trying to charge my laptop. I can't even say that yeah, you were tempted, and then it was not, it was not your fault. You were tempted. You remember where you came from. You remember that nobody wanted you. Nobody wanted you. Your family abandoned you. Nobody except Pastor Monroe. And then you had the audacity to sleep with his wife and looking for excuses as to why you think this is justified. What do you think, my royals? What do you think? Because I I I personally I don't know what to think. On one hand, I want to say, oh, you poor guy. On the other hand, I'm saying, no, there's nothing poor about this guy. There's nothing poor about what you have done. It cannot be justified. A child has come out of this now. She's sent you a message to say, look, this is your son. And obviously, you can't run away. You ran to the UK, you ran to Ireland because you were running away from your problems in Arkansas. You can run, but you can't hide, right? So, Ethan, like I said, I'm going to send you an email because I don't have your phone number. I'm going to send you an email and I'm going to send you this link because obviously you sent this confession last year. So you probably don't even know whether I'm, playing it today or not. So I will send you the link in case you are not watching this show right now so that you can come back and watch it. I want my royals. You tell me what you think. All right. Do you think he's done right? Everyone on the chat, do you think he's done right? Because I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. How can somebody who took you from the prison, he never judged you. In fact, he called you his son. He took you in, he gave you food, he gave you clothing, he gave you shelter. He gave you everything. He made you to look like a human being and treated you like a human being. And then you went behind his back. On top of it all, you're feeling guilty because the man died. You think you actually had something to do with it, but you didn't even get to confess before he died. Oh yes, you're seeing him in your dreams because when people pass on, they get to know everything that's happened. So he's now known what you have done. You're lucky it doesn't have a whip to be flogging you because like he said, he keeps preaching about forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. So maybe he's forgiven you already. But if the tables were turned, Ethan, would you do the same thing? How would you feel if the tables were turned? My royals, please, let me know what you think. Because this guy, I don't know whether he wants us to feel sorry for him And I don't know if I actually feel sorry for him or anything like that, because as far as I'm concerned, I don't really feel sorry for him. All right, I feel he should face what's coming like a man. He should go back to the states where his child and his baby mama are, and face the music. You know, because you've run to Dublin, you think you can escape, but obviously she's found your number and she's contacted you. So, the evil that men do would live after them. So I think, you should go back to Arkansas. Am I right, my royals? Should he go back to Arkansas and deal with it? Because as far as I'm concerned, I think that's what he should do. Go back and deal with what's happened. You just cannot treat people that that believed in you so badly. My royals, if somebody did that to you, how would you feel? How would you feel? I'd like to know how you feel about it. Mr. Solomon, what are your thoughts about this? Do you think that Ethan was justified after somebody helped him out of prison? He came out of prison, somebody gave him everything he needed to be as a human being, and then he turned around and he slept with the wife of the pastor within the church, for that matter, in the church. While the pastor is preaching, you are sleeping with his wife within the church next door. Ethan, I'm sorry I'm judging, but I have to judge in this one. Maureen says, I would say his emotion and vulnerability was capitalized by the pastor's wife. So both are guilty of the betrayal. Yes. Yes, okay. His emotion and vulnerability was capitalized by the pastor's wife. So both are guilty. Yes. Okay. I don't know whether he was vulnerable as such, because at least somebody made him feel like he was somebody by the trust and confidence that they had with that they had for him. Maybe the pastor's wife was vulnerable, but it reminds me of the Maureen. He reminds me of the story of what's his name in the Bible? Is it what's his name? Joseph, right? Joseph, where Potiphar's wife came all, half dressed or barely dressed, and, was seducing him and did every single thing to make him lay with her. And he said, my master has been so wonderful to me. He has been so good to me. Why would I do such a great abomination or commit such a great sin by laying with his wife? I cannot do that. And he was prepared to lose his job, his everything, including the cloth that was on his back that the pastor, that the Potiphar's wife took and said, yeah, look at what he tried to do to me and everything. He was prepared to let go of everything just to be able to maintain his integrity, his loyalty, his faithfulness to the man who was looking after him. So honestly, as far as I'm concerned, um, I think, if somebody has the tendency to behave that way, sooner or later they would act their way. They will act the way they will act what's in their minds. But I hear what you're saying. Both of them are just as guilty as each other. Absolutely, they are both guilty of the betrayal. Man. Even the wife, how could she? Mr. Solomon says he and the pastor's wife are more than traitors. Totally, totally. They're more than traitors. Absolutely. Amaka, hello. Thank you for joining. Amaka says, unbelievable. Are you telling me? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And Amaka continues, if he was a true Christian, he would have exercised the willpower to say, no, thank you. If he really was a true Christian, all the messages that the man has been preaching, I mean, to show the extent of the depravity, right? Next door, the pastor is preaching, everybody is shouting, Amen, hallelujah. And you are having it with his wife. I don't even want to use the words. With his wife in the church office. And you even said that it wasn't just the church office alone. You were doing it everywhere and anywhere. At choir practice, at retreats, at the youth camp, behind the church, everywhere that you were just at it. Not once, not twice, again and again and again. If it was one, you say, okay, it was a mistake that will never happen. But this time, not only were you making the mistake, you so-called mistake, which was not a mistake, you were now justifying it. You and your lover were now justifying it. All right? To make yourselves feel better. Right? Make yourselves feel better. Maka says that's the world. He had the tendency to do that. That's the word. He had the tendency to do that, and he is free to say no. Yes, it's like he always had it in him to go that way. It's like somebody that has money. All right, money is neither good nor bad. If you have a bad attitude and a bad character, money will only reveal who you really are because you start displaying some certain behaviors. It shows. If you are a good person, the money will not change you. It will only make the good part of you even come out more. So it's like this as well. If you have the tendency to steal, when you get the opportunity to, and you think nobody is watching, you will, right? Absolutely. And Mr. Solomon says, total disregard for the house of God. Banging the pastor's wife, even in the house of God. They both have wicked hearts. Even the devil himself will be scared of them both. Absolutely. Totally. I mean, the sacrilege of it all. The sacrilege. And Maureen says, his previous life before prison is something we know nothing about. Being taken in by the pastor does not mean his previous character had changed. Well, Maureen, you say that. But remember at the beginning, he did say that he had a very rough life, and that's why he actually went to prison, because he was convicted of aggravated assault, which means he had a history of violence. If somebody has a history of violence, there's a tendency that they probably had other things as well going on. Maybe he used to drink, he used to take drugs, maybe he used to womanize. Like you said, maybe he had some other things going on before. Because if he almost, unalived somebody and he was put in prison for 3 years, then definitely he had the tendency to do something like that. So yes, I see where you're coming from. His previous life, obviously, is something that we need to reckon with. So maybe that previous life has not really changed, even though he was in church, even though he's been hearing the word, even though Pastor Morrow thought he was renewing his mind by the word and showing him so much love. But I guess, a leopard hardly changes his spots. In fact, a leopard doesn't even change his spots. That's the thing. People hardly change except God changes them, or except they determine in their hearts, that they will not sin against God. And then that determination gives them the power to remain loyal. And like the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, where they were, being cajoled into serving the god of that land or whatever, and bound before the gods and Pharaoh and all that. And they said, no, they determined it. The Bible says that they determined in their hearts that they will not sin against God. So they already had in mind that no matter what you do, we will not bow to this God, we will not bow to you. We will not serve a foreign God and all that. So he didn't. He had the tendency to always be bad. And even when that temptation came, if he had determined in his heart to say, listen, this man gave me shelter when nobody wanted to take me in. Even his own family didn't come and take him from the prison. They didn't care about him. And more, like you said, imagine his family didn't care about him from the very beginning. Because even when he was discharged from prison and he came out, they still did not, maybe because of all the things he's done before in the past, they just felt, look, this guy, he will never change. So we're not even going to bother to go and get him. So they abandoned him. He must have been a really bad person for the entire family. Not even one person had enough confidence in him to say, listen, yeah, you've done everything bad or whatever, but I still have confidence in you. And no, not even a family member came for him. And then the one man in this entire world who had confidence in you, Ethan, I hope you watch. I'm going to send this to you. I'm going to send a link to you, with your email address. I hope you watch this because the only man who believed in you in this entire world, you broke his heart. Now, who knows whether the preacher, Pastor Monroe, even knew? Who knows? Who knows whether he suspected? Who knows whether he found out? Maybe that's what even gave him the heart attack. Who knows? Who knows? We don't know. Amaka says he doesn't have a conscience. Obviously. Absolutely. He definitely doesn't have a conscience because if somebody that believed in you so much. So what do you want us to do now, Ethan? Seriously, please. Did you want us to tell you that, yeah, you did right? Okay, don't worry, everything is okay. Just go ahead and, just forget about everything that happened and just carry on with your life in Ireland. Because, we stand for the truth here. And my royals and I, we don't pussyfoot around the truth. We will say it how we see it. So yes, we love you, and yes, God loves you. We're not saying that you're going to go to hell. We're not trying to say you are a bad person. But what we're saying is that what you did was wrong. Let's call a spade a spade. What you did was totally out of order, and you need to go back to your town, to Arkansas, and deal with your son because you have a child. All right, you have a child. Mr. Solomon says maybe his wife told him that morning, and that was why he had the heart attack. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe, maybe, maybe. I mean, anybody who hears a thing like that definitely will be a bit, it's enough to send somebody down under, especially when somebody that you took like a son. He was calling you son. He took you like his son. There is nowhere in the story that you said that Pastor Monroe had a son or had children. There is nowhere. So we're assuming that he didn't have any kids because you never said anything about his children. You only said his wife. All right. So maybe because he didn't have any son, he took you as his own son. And this is how you pay him back, Ethan. This is how you pay him back. I honestly, my royals and I, we are actually disappointed. We have to say, Ethan, it is disappointing, and you cannot run away from your problems. You need to go back to Arkansas. You need to right all the wrongs that you have committed. Yeah, you have a son. You need to be in your son's life. My royals, tell me if I'm wrong here. All right, I feel he needs to go back to Arkansas. Yeah, you've been in Ireland now for 3 years. You were running away from stuff or whatever. But the stuff have come back to haunt you. So go back to Arkansas and go and look for your son. You saw the picture. He's got your eyes like you said. Go and look for your son. Let your son know that he has a dad. Okay. Deal with your baby mama in terms of, if you guys both have to go and confess to the church, because I don't even know if the church is still existing or not. All right. But y'all need to go confess somehow or go and seek God's face and ask him for forgiveness. All right. I cannot remember anywhere in this story that you said you actually asked God to forgive you. and that you feel like he's forgiven you. I cannot remember anywhere you said that. All you said was that you felt guilty. But did you really ask for forgiveness from God, even though the man has passed on now? Are you really sorry? Because I can't see anywhere in the story where you said you were sorry and you wanted forgiveness from God. All right. Oh, let me take this comment. Yes, Mr. Slomo says disappointment is an understatement. Absolutely. Totally. Amaka says he should confess his sins to people and to God. Ethan, did you hear that? Confess your sins to people and to God. Take care of your son and begin to make amends immediately. You ran away for 3 years. So this is time for you to make amends. Okay. You need to make amends. You need to confess. Bible says that confession brings salvation. You have to confess, and then you get the peace, because you cannot get peace. You said you see him in your sleep. You hear his voice. When you look at the mirror, you see his face in the mirror. Do you actually think you are going to go away stuck, like scot-free, without anything, no consequences? It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. So you have to accept responsibility for what you have done. Own it, according to Nigerians, own it with your full chest and say, yeah, I did this. I'm a man and I need to take accountability for my actions. Go back to Arkansas, Ethan. Go and confess your sin. Like Amaka said, confess your sin to everyone, all right, and to God, and take care of your son and begin to amend all the mistakes, right every wrong, everything that you need to do within your capability to right the wrongs that you have done, right them. Now, would you say, yeah, you want to now marry her so that you now have a mom and the child that has a mom and a dad? I cannot even say that. And as a matter of fact, I don't even think that's right. I don't think that's right at all, right? And Mr. Solomon says, yes, he should go back and face his situation as well as fast and pray for forgiveness. He continues and says, he is a coward for running away. Are you telling me? Totally. He is a coward for running away. Why are you running away? Did you think that you will get away in this whole earth? Look, it's a global village nowadays. If you didn't know, Ethan, know that now. It's a global village. You can run, but you cannot hide. All right? People only need to just Google your name. Somehow they will fish you out somewhere. All right? So you can run, but you cannot hide. You really cannot. So if I were you, I will go back to Arkansas and take care of business. That's what I'm going to say to you. My royals, I mean, what more can we say? We've given the advice that, we should give him. Maybe agrees with Solomon and says, I agree with Solomon. Totally. Totally. So Ethan, if you thought we were going to just pat you on the shoulder and say, oh, you poor thing, oh, never mind, it's okay, whatever. No, because my royals, they are the most honest and straightforward people. They will tell you how it is. All right. We still love you. All right, but we'll tell you how it is. Maureen says, I believe his confession has already started by him coming to your platform to share his story. He needs to confront his past mistakes and make amends. Okay? Okay. Okay. I agree. He has already started the confession by coming to this platform and talking about it. Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm going to send it to him. And I hope somebody in the States, sees this and maybe put two and two together and this story, because I'd like to see how this story unfolds, to be honest. I really would like to see how it unfolds, whether he now went back to Arkansas or not. whether he saw his son, whether what his baby mama now thinks of. I would love to see how the story unfolds. So no, if whoever is watching this show from this because I know this show is being watched by people from all over the world. So if anybody has any idea, and Ethan, I'm gonna, like I said, I'll send this link to you as well on email. All right. And I would like you to keep in touch to let me know what you've decided. Did you decide? Are you going to decide to go back to Arkansas to sort this out? Yes, you've confessed here. Well, you need to go back to the roots of the matter. You need to go back to the root cause. You need to go back to the place where it all started, right? And deal with it. Don't just put a plaster over it here. You're thinking, okay, you've come to this platform now, so you're exonerated. Yeah, you've confessed, but the people that you have hurt, because whether you think they know about it or not, the fact that they were in the same church as you have hurt them. They may not know about it, but you have actually hurt them. And like we agree, like Marius and I agreed, and this is disappointing. All right, you need to go back and amend your wrongs. Okay, we love you, Nathan. I'll be Ethan. Yeah, Ethan. We love you, Ethan. Right? We're not condemning you, but we're talking to you like we would do if you were our relative. You need to go back and right your wrongs. Okay? My royals, is there anything else we want to say to him? Because, yeah, I think we've pretty much told him what we feel. All right? Because this confession forces us to confront something uncomfortable about human nature. Sometimes the people who save us are the same people that we end up hurting the most. Sometimes guilt becomes a prison, even worse than the one we escaped from. For example, he is now, like he said, actually, he said, even the time that he was in prison, he said what he feels right now is not even like the bad, the hurt than the pain and the emotions he's feeling right now, that his prison sentence and what happened during that prison time is tiny compared to the guilt he feels right now. So he's in turmoil. He's not at peace. All right. But the real question is redemption still possible after a betrayal like this? Do we think that he's redeemable? Or are some actions too devastating to forgive? All right. So I want to hear from you, my royals. If you were Ethan, if you were Ethan, would you? And I'm going to give you some options. If you were Ethan, would you contact the child and take responsibility? Yeah. Would you reply to that message that the baby mama, Angelica sent you, and take responsibility for your child? Will you confess everything publicly and ask for forgiveness, my royals? This is the second option. The third option is, would you stay away forever to avoid destroying more lives? Or the last option, would you do something else entirely? Would you just take another decision that's not A, B, or C? The first option was, if you were Ethan, would you contact the child and take responsibility? Secondly, second option, would you confess everything publicly and ask for forgiveness? Thirdly, would you stay away forever to avoid destroying more lives? Or fourthly, would you do something else entirely, like take another decision that is none of these three? Write your comments, all right, in the chat. Probably after the show, like I always say, so that it can register properly, all right? Because tonight's confession doesn't just belong to Ethan, all right? I think it's something that we all need to look into and to really think about, right? Amaka said, "You said it." Yeah, yeah. But what are your your responses to the question that I've asked? Do you want, should Ethan, if you were, God forbid, my royals are not like that, but if you were Ethan, would you go back and confront the situation and take responsibility for your child? B, would you confess everything publicly and ask for forgiveness? Or can it be, would you do both? Would you contact the child, contact Angelica and take responsibility, and then go and ask for forgiveness publicly? Would you do that? So you can say A and B, I will do A and B, or I can just do only A, contact the child and forget about everything else, or I'll confess and forget about the child. Or thirdly, stay away forever and avoid destroying more lives. So you stay away from your son, stay away from everything, and say, look, listen, you've done enough, but so you don't want to destroy any more lives. So what would you do? Or D, avoid completely, just do something entirely different. Forget about it. Just pretend it never happened. Just pretend that no, this never happened. Write your comments in the chat. Let me know. Let me know, my royals. Mr. Solomon says, yes, he should contact the mother and take responsibility, confess to the church, and seek forgiveness. Okay, good advice. Ethan, did you hear that? So do A and B. All right. Contact the mother and take responsibility for the child, and then confess to the church and seek forgiveness. Amaka says, I will confess and ask for forgiveness and make sure I give my child all. Yeah, yeah, totally. Totally. So Mr. Solomon says you should do A and B. Absolutely. Maka says, whatever is hidden in the dark must one day come out, one way or the other. I will confess and ask for forgiveness and then take care of my child. I think the jury is conclusive on this, Ethan. The jury is conclusive on this. Maureen says, it's unfortunate the pastor is not around for him to confess to. However, he needs to confess to God and to the child. So in other words, do A and B, because you have to go to the child, go to to take responsibility, and then, go to the church and confess to the church. So I think the jury is settled, all right, on this, to say that, yeah, you need to do the right thing by going to the church, confessing, take responsibility for their child, and be a father to that child. All right. Nobody wants any bastard child out there. All right. And please, even though you've made so many mistakes, you need to be a good example now to your son. All right. You need to be a good example to your son. All right. You need to sow good seeds in your son's life by being a good example to him. All right. There are certain things that you should instill in him. All right. So that he knows that he should not make the same mistakes that you have made. All right. You need to lead by example. You need to lead by example. Amaka says, yes, this man is not around, but he will continue to torment him until he confesses. Yeah, the man is not around. Yeah, the pastor is not around. But until you confess, until you do the right thing, you will continue to see him and you will continue to feel guilty, actually. You will continue to feel guilty. All right? Because they say there's no peace for the wicked. Yeah, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. There's no peace for the wicked. All right? So this is our gavel. We're in court. Can you see my gavel? Can you see it? Right. So we're going to say, Ethan, you're guilty. Okay? Go and confess. Go and take responsibility for your son. Okay? Go and do right by everybody. And then maybe, just maybe, you might stop seeing Pastor Monroe in your dreams. Maybe you will stop seeing him in your dreams. Maybe you will stop seeing him in the mirror. Maybe you will stop hearing his voice, because you said you keep hearing his voice. Maybe you will stop hearing his voice then. But you need to confess and do the right thing. All right. All right. So, my royals, we're going to leave it here because it's almost time. But if this story made you think, if it challenged your beliefs, if this story made you uncomfortable, yeah, so did it with me as well. Like I told you, I had this story for almost a year before I shared it. All right. It means, the fact that we feel this way, it means that, you know, we are we are not in support of what he's done. All right. Because sometimes stories like this that disturb us the most are the ones that reveal who we really are. And we now know, we've always known that we are people who will not who will not behave like this. This is a wrong thing to do. All right. So, my royals, you've advised him. We've advised him. We've said to him that he needs to confess. Lorraine, thank you so much for joining, my darling. Thank you so much for joining. Big hearts to you as well. Big, 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 big hearts to you as well. We're about to close, but it's never too late. You can always go back and watch it from the beginning. So it's so good to see you. How are you? And Maureen, Riri says it's good to be open, and whatever will be, will be. Que sera, sera. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Listen, it's good to be open. Listen, there's nothing like peace of mind. When, even if you've done something bad and you confess, you know the amount of weight that comes off your shoulder? Because it just feels like one heavy bun of brick has been lifted off your chest, because sin and guilt is like a heavy load that can weigh somebody down. But once you confess it, you feel lighter, you feel better. So for your own sake, Ethan, for your own sake, please go and confess. All right, and do the right thing. All right, my royals, this is where we're going to leave it. If you haven't subscribed, I know I didn't talk about the subscription at the beginning, but I'm doing it now. Please, I beg of you, subscribe to this channel for more real confessions like this, right? These are powerful confessions about life, about relationships, about faith. And all right, honestly, these are confessions that people would talk about the difficult choices that we have to face as human beings. Obviously, this is a very difficult choice he has to make, but he has to make it. All right. And sometimes remember as well that the darkest stories reveal the most important truths. This is a very dark story, and it's revealed the most important truth in his life. This is probably the worst thing he's ever done. But you will be free because you've confessed now. And I hope you take my royal's advice by going back to Arkansas, looking after your child, and confessing to everybody so that you can find your freedom as well. All right. My royals, thank you once again for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. And thank you for all your comments. You have just been amazing. The comments kept coming. Everybody was just amazing, on fire. I trust you anyway. I know you guys you're always on fire. You're always here to support me. And I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you so much. All right. And like I said, I missed you guys so much. All right. And I look forward to seeing you next week. It's going to be another confession next week. All right. Who knows? It might even be even darker than this one. You never know. But I look forward to seeing you guys next week. So until next time, then, be bold, be kind, but most importantly, be empowered. I love you. Mwah. See you next time. And bye for now. Bye.
Empower life with Cleopatra. Awaken the best version of you. Unlock your true potential. Empower your mind, body, and soul. Live with intentions, live with a purpose. Empower your dreams, make it happen today. No matter your age, rise and shine. Live boldly, live authentically. It's your time to rise and shine. Empower life with Cleopatra. Awaken the best version of you. Your journey starts today. You've got one life to live. Love yourself, be kind to others, break free and let your spirit soar. Empower life with Cleopatra. Will help you awaken the best version of you.